Hello, everyone. Good evening. This is Carolyn Coleman, and welcome to Gentry's Journey. And we have, as our honored guest today, DA Lynniece Washington, District Attorney. Okay. And she's going to tell us about her role as a DA, educate us a little bit on what a DA does and what she does, and some of the initiatives that she has started. And then she's going to talk to us about being a breast cancer survivor. So, welcome to Gentry's Journey, DA
Thank you.
Washington.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. Okay, now can you what led you to your present position? We always got to start somewhere, okay? So
Okay.
what led you?
Okay. Um, well, I have had an opportunity from my law training at Miles Law School to do many things in the area of law. I've been truly blessed for that. When I passed the bar, I started out as a solo practitioner, handling private defense in a solo firm, and I handle criminal defense, family law, federal criminal defense, and state. And of course, any attorney would handle personal injury. From there, I had an opportunity to become one of the assistant DAs, where I now serve as the elected DA. Had an opportunity to serve there for 8 years. And then I decided to run for district judge, not DA, but district judge. And that's when my story of my discovery of cancer came in. It starts, and then once I served as DA, I and had to quit my job to run for district judge. During that time, I was diagnosed and I lost the election. And I'll tell you about all about my journey with cancer at the age of 42. But I had then an opportunity to be I still had I went back to my practice, and then I had an opportunity to serve as one of the Jefferson County Personnel Board hearing officers. And then during that time as well, I had an opportunity to be appointed after losing the election for district judge. I had an opportunity to be appointed as judge for the Bessemer Municipal Court system, and served in that position. And then I had an opportunity to run for DA. My boss, the guy who hired me, was not going to run again, and so that opened the door for me to have the opportunity to run. And while I was there serving as one of the assistant DAs, I had an opportunity to have a bird's eye view of the things that went on in the office that I wanted to see change. So that was my opportunity for change.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Now, when did you have a desire to to be a part of defending people, to be an attorney, to be a lawyer?
As a child,
Oh, that's
you,
great.
we always tell our kids that, especially my husband and I, we tell our kids, you got to have a plan B. My son likes sports and he wanted to be a pro football player. And I was like, okay, son, it's only about 1% or less that make it there. So you need a plan B. But to become a lawyer was my only plan. My mother had a sixth grade education, my dad an eighth grade education. And my mother always told me that I was going to college. And she told me that I was going to be a nurse or a school teacher. And because those were noble careers during that time, that
Absolutely.
if you make it a nurse, school teacher, hey, you're doing well.
Sure.
And so I did, and I was like, I don't want to be a nurse, and I don't want to be a school teacher. I want to be a lawyer. And she's
Hmm.
like, we don't have the money for that. And
Hmm.
so she went back to, you're going to be a nurse or a school teacher. Well, during that time, don't laugh at me, but I loved Wonder Woman. I watched shows with Wonder Woman, Perry Mason, um, um, Marcus Welby, MD, which basically was forensics. But
Mhm.
but any law cop, Starsky and Hutch. I mean, and so we're going back to the day.
Sure.
I was always intrigued, law and order. I was always intrigued by court and law and police and just representing the underdog. And that grew up in me. And I guess the desire to serve grew up in me, especially seeing my who had a sixth grade education. She did a whole lot of serving in the community, but without a title.
Sure.
There was the lady that lived next door, older lady. She would give my mom a list of groceries to go and buy for her,
Mhm.
and she give my mom less than what the food items would cost. And my mom would she would I mean we her and my dad, we were not struggling, but very moderate income, low to moderate,
Mhm.
and more low. And she was always go and get those items. And I said, Mom, why do you go and get those items from Miss Holly? She
Mhm.
never give you enough money. And she said, we've never missed a meal. We've never had our lights cut off.
Mhm.
And she said, I just believe as long as I do right and I serve other people, that in turn God will continue to bless me.
Well,
And
good.
I just kind of live by that.
That's great because we were talking about this a few days ago, how people share. Neighbor knew
Yes.
neighbor. Neighbor was always, you could depend on the neighbor. I don't
Yes.
care. I remember one day I had on a dress and I was just a couple of doors down from the house, and this lady, she came in. I can't think of her first name right now, but everybody was Miss. Okay, so I'm gonna say Miss Joanne. She was just telling me how pretty I was, and she said, "Baby, you got all these ants on you." And she started brushing the ants off me. I'm surprised they haven't bit you. Where'd you get these ants from? And then I'm trying to think, me too. Where did they come from? But I'm just saying, people care for one another. And I
Yes.
just always think about her, and always nice, always cordial, always kind, always dressed well. But
Hmm.
everybody care for one another. Someone was saying, you remember the time when people would borrow a cup of sugar? And I'm like, yeah. And they said, well, I don't think nobody
Wouldn't
borrows
trust that
sugar.
now.
That's all. I don't think people gonna ask for a cup of sugar now.
No,
Things have
no, you don't
changed.
know what you may get back.
You don't. You really, really don't. But I look back and I just appreciate I appreciate my childhood. I appreciate growing up.
Oh,
So because that is your foundation.
oh
Because
yes.
it's all of our foundation.
Oh
So
yes.
so it's good to have parents who set an example.
Yeah, my mother, with her sixth grade education, she set such a high standard for me, because she couldn't tell me how to pronounce words. She couldn't even tell me how to enunciate words. She couldn't show me how to do a math problem.
Hmm.
But the words of wisdom that she would give me in those life lessons, and how she taught me discipline and structure, and she would always tell me, Nisi, you do your homework, do your homework. But she couldn't tell me how to do my homework. And the thing that hurt me the most, about my mom, is that I recall, it was her desire to want to know how to read,
Hmm.
and she could not read. And she could read like really simple words.
Sure.
But my dad, we come from, he was very traditional in that he worked. My mom mostly stayed home. She worked 3 days a week cleaning
Hmm.
houses, and he did not want her to go to school
Hmm.
because she cooked his breakfast and lunch, and when he got home his food was ready, and she was just that woman that did everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he felt intimidated by the fact that she may outgrow him.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave her, excuse my expression, but he gave her hell
Mm-hmm.
about going to school. But she ended up going. He eventually gave in and said, okay, you'll go, but just make sure you have my food ready. And she went to
Uh-huh.
going elementary. It was adult education.
Mm-hmm.
And but he gave her such a hard time that even then she did not complete it. So that's one thing that sticks in my mind, that my mom, and I actually saw her cry one time because she wanted to be able to read proficiently and she couldn't.
And I get that when you have something that you desire to do,
Hmm.
you need support and not someone to say, no, no, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. And I get it, but there was that time. Uh,
That was that time.
that was
That was
that
that
time.
time.
Uh-huh. My mom was a stay-at-home mom.
Mhm.
The people around us were basically stay-at-home moms and the men worked. So I get
Yes.
that. I get that.
Yeah. And
But
because, she couldn't work full time, we basically we lived very meagerly,
mhm,
really. Because the job, I mean, with an eighth grade education, you're not going to get the highest paying job.
true.
But we had meager. I come from meager beginnings, but I thank God for how He's shown me where I come from, and He taught me along the way of, if you treat people right. My mom used to always say, "Do right, and right will follow you," and I live by that mantra.
So do I. I think that was just part of that growing up, the way that people showed up for each other. You treat people
Hmm.
right, it'll come back. Or, even if it doesn't, you did your part.
Yes. Yes. So she did get a chance to see me graduate from law school.
That's great.
She did get a chance to see me have my first home built when I went to the DA's office.
Hmm.
At that time, my first husband, and I had divorced, and I was living with my mom, me and my son, in East Thomas. And so her health, I was concerned about her health, and so I talked her into moving in with me. And so I built my first house,
Hmm.
and she was proud of that, and she lived with me. And she actually, we moved in this house January of 2004, and she passed away September of 2004 in this house.
Mm, hmm. Well, that was
Unexpected.
beautiful for her to be able to see her baby girl grow up and
Yeah,
have her own. Yes,
that was my best friend. That
that's a
was my best
blessing.
friend.
That is a blessing. Now, what challenges do you face being a DA?
Well, as being a black woman, as black women, there are less than 11% of black female district attorneys around these United States. Um, and we, just by being a black woman, it's like, you're second guessed, whereas with a male, whatever he does is always excused. But with being a woman, you're second guessed. The decisions you make, you're second guessed. And as a black woman, and I was the first black woman to be prosecutor in the state of Alabama.
Oh, that's good.
And the killing part is, when I ran, I had no idea that I would be the first black woman. That was not my goal.
Sure.
That was totally not my goal. And I had not even thought about it. I didn't even know what the pay was, Miss Coleman. I had no idea what the pay was. But I do recall one of my campaign meetings, and there was a local attorney in Bessemer, and he was on my campaign team. And he was older, very, very smart, but made some poor choices along the way. But He said, you know, Lynniece, when you win, do you realize you're going to be the first black woman to be DA? And at first he said Jefferson County. I'm like, for real? He said, no. He said, no, you'll be the first black woman in the state of Alabama. And
That's
so, and
prestigious. That's prestigious.
that was scary.
It's
That
scary,
was
but yeah,
that put on a lot of pressure.
it put
I
on
mean,
more
because
pressure. Yes.
because campaigning alone and getting your name out and doing all the things that alone is a lot. I mean, that's you have two paths. You have the finance, the campaign finance part of it, and then you have grassroots getting out and making sure your name is out to get people to go out and vote for you. But then when someone tells you you're going to be the first black woman district attorney in the state of Alabama, oh my God.
Hmm.
So that means that I'm creating a path that was never there before. And so when I do remember when I won, it was the most surreal feeling. It was so surreal. It,
Hmm.
to be that. And I really, my thing, I wish it was, it's like, I want my mama. you know,
Yeah.
I, I wish my mom was here because that was a moment. And I made a statement to the Birmingham News. And I told them, I said, I broke the proverbial glass ceiling,
Hmm.
but not for it to be mended,
Hmm.
but for others like me to
Sure.
come after me, and to create that path for them. And that's where I am now, Ms. Coleman. This is my second term as district attorney, and I'm going to run again in 2028. And but I'm so much, I've done so many initiatives, done so many new things. Danny Carr and I, we have set a whole total different bar for district attorneys. We've redefined the role of a district attorney and what we do. And so now I'm at the point that I'm trying to put my office in a place that whoever succeeds me will be able to pick it up and move forward and do greater things than what I have done. In my absence, I want my community, I want the Bessemer cutoff, I want Jefferson County to thrive, and I want the community, the people, the residents, our youth to know about those laws that affect them and make better decisions, and know that whenever you make a decision, there's either a reward or consequence. And I spend a lot of time at different schools telling my students that, and my babies, because they're all my babies.
Sure.
And I tell them, never give anybody your power, your choice and your decision. That is your power. That is your power.
True.
You have the decision, the power to say yes or no. You gonna go left, you can have the power to go decision, you
Agree.
weigh everything and
Agree.
make the decision. So I have really enjoyed this role. And even though the challenges that have brought, we are underrepresented as black prosecutors and being second guessed, and just having to work harder than my counterpart, has been it's been challenging, but I have enjoyed every journey, every bit of it.
That is
Let me
wonderful.
stop. Don't strike me down, Father.
Mhm.
I haven't enjoyed every bit of it, but the things that I have been able to change to I was talking to Danny last night, and I said, we have truly moved the needle, and the things that we have accomplished and have started in Jefferson County, because with us together we represent Jefferson County. I'm just truly proud of that.
Well, what are some of the initiatives that you have done?
Wow. So when I first got into office, I started I created the first task force that was put together by a district attorney, and I named it Operation Python. And when I got into office, when I'm being introduced to to what I walked into, there were communities, there were municipalities that were they didn't have the presence of police officers, and the ones that were there, they were not trained well, and there were cases, there were death cases where people were killed, and I had little than a one-page police report, and that was unacceptable. And people were just, at that time, crime back in 2017, it just seemed like every time we turned around, there was something going on. So I spoke to the then sheriff, and I wanted to start a task force, wanted to join in with them. He's like, well, these places, Brighton and Midfield and Fairfield and Lipscomb, they don't have any money. And I'm like, but we have an obligation to still make these places safe for those people that live there. And he was like, well, yeah, we'll talk about it later. And so I mean, I talked about it a lot to different people, and I came across Marty Keeley, who is the U.S.
Okay.
Marshal Marty Keeley. And when I told Marty, and we were actually at the Hoover prayer breakfast, I never will forget. I told him what I wanted to do, and he said, "Well, Lynniece, get some of your people, and y'all come over to the U.S. Marshal's office, and let's sit down and talk." And in my mind, I was like, okay, here's another one of those. Okay, little girl,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about something else, But no, he took me serious. We were able to establish a task force based with federal, state, local police officers. He was able to get funding from Washington, and in 2017. I started Operation Python, and during that first time, I'm looking for my numbers. We had 126 arrests in 3 months, and that was in 2017. And we cleared like $163,000 of illegal drug money. We cleared 212 warrant arrests, and collected 32 guns and a number of street value drugs. And there were pictures. It was a big article. I did it again in 2021, Operation Python again. And it was always a 3 month operation. And in 2021, there were 156 arrests and 47 guns seized, and drugs and cash were seized also. And that was Operation Python. And then in 2017, when I first started, I began for National Crime Victims' Rights Week. I started the candlelight vigil where we would recognize those who were killed in gun violence, whose lives were taken in gun violence, and those survivors of domestic violence. So we would recognize those whose lives were taken. I would have a speaker there to empower those families, because regardless as to what reputation a person had in the community, they left a mom, a dad, a child, a
Agreed.
sister, a brother, and
Yes.
they loved them.
True. Very
So,
true.
my thing was to empower that family and give them information. And the thing that I don't know how I started this, Miss Coleman, but I got a bail from the Bessemer Fire Department, and we do this every year, and that's in April. And we named all of those individuals who lives were taken by some form of violence, gun violence, or those type nature. And we call their names, and when we call their names, the family would stand, and we told the bell,
Okay.
and you could hear a pin drop. And so I've been doing that consistently since 2017. There's a candlelight vigil. I started the first conviction integrity unit in the state of Alabama. Did that in 2019. Started that with cases that have come out of the Bessemer cutoff. Because my staff is limited, I'm only limited to those cases of violence such as murder, rape, And we have an application where people can put in, submit their request, and my team looks at it and we determine whether it falls within the criteria, and we review those cases. Now, we're not talking about cases that happened last year, because and everything is still in this appeals process, but
Sure.
this is an extrajudicial process where we look at those cases that people said, I did not do this. I am asserting absolute innocence. And those are the cases that we look at. Jails take priority. Those people in prison, they take priority. And it was not well received by a lot of the law enforcement community, because they say, "Oh, you're trying to put give the police officers a black eye and say we did something wrong." But technology has advanced in DNA and rape cases and DNA. Also, we know more about eyewitness testimony. So it's not about making someone look bad, but it's to correct a wrong and to establish best practice going forward. So I've been doing that since 2019. We started working in the schools with the Helping Families Initiative. That's in Birmingham, as well as Bessemer Cutoff, where kids with chronic absenteeism and behavior issues are referred to our program. And we help those families to divert that child from the school to prison pipeline, because that is real.
Mhm.
And we do that. We work with the schools and we refer them out. There's an assessment done, a family assessment that's done, and we put those services in place to help that family. Whether it be, there are a lot of children, Ms. Coleman, they go to school. They stayed up all night. Johnny stayed up all night, and we don't know that why Johnny got his head on his desk. And so the teacher is saying Johnny is lazy, and she try and talk to Johnny, and Johnny gets disruptive, and and he's sent home, and we find out that Johnny is sleepy because Johnny has stayed up all night because mom has a drug dependency issue, and he stayed up with sister or little brother and waiting for mom to come home safely. So we do those things to try and change, remove those barriers that will keep that child from flourishing and doing and being his or her best. And it also helps the family and helps that community from having them to find placement. There are kids that are living in cars with their families. When a child comes to school with soiled clothes and not smelling so fresh, kids they're mean. And so you pick on that kid may knock you out. So then you're labeled a bad kid. So, but Helping Families initiative, we do the Second Chance Hiring Fair for those who have been justice impacted, and those who are just looking for a second chance. And we do that so that will reduce recidivism, because when a person goes to prison, when they come out within 3 years, most of them are for property crimes, but they go and reoffend, especially if they don't have anything, a job, a family support system and all that. So we do second chance hiring fairs each year, and we also have the Saki grant that we work with Jefferson County DA's office. It's a grant for those rapes that have occurred, and there were no suspects. So once that person, years go by, and a person commits a crime, he's in prison, his DNA is in the system, and there's a rape kit that's done, and boom, we have a match. So there have been cases where we have been able to prosecute old rape cases, and to give victims freedom, and bring them justice. There are, I mean, we do so much. I just got started a new victim domestic violence grant. I get from ADECA. I received a grant for victims. We prosecute the offenders every day, all day, for crimes. But when you're looking at in the courtroom, and the victim is looking like Rita the raccoon around the eyes, and she comes to you and say, "I really want to dismiss this case. I really fell and hit both eyes." corner of the table. There is something that needs to be done. There's some issues there. There's some self-esteem. There's some issues there. So that has always been one of the things I wanted to do. So ADECA, I was able to obtain a grant and working with Women Under Construction and UAB, they handle the research, but we now have a grant that is called Safeguard. And victims of domestic violence can go through this program, and it teaches them prevention and awareness, and it empowers them using tools. Shelley Lane is a wonderful, amazing lady who's a director of Women Under Construction, and she teaches the class, and she teach women or victims, should I say, because actually we've had one or two male victims,
Sure.
how to not only repair their homes but repair their lives using tools. So I've just been truly blessed to have the opportunity to do so many things and change so many lives. And being just a part of so many, being able to meet so many amazing women, smart women prosecutors. And I learn from them every day, even the ones that a lot of people have looked at, oh, Kim Fox. Kim Fox was the state's attorney for Cook County, Chicago. Brilliant black woman.
Hmm.
Marilyn Mosby, she was out of Baltimore. What was this? Michael Brown, Eric Brown case where he was in the custody of police, and he died and he was killed, and she's a good friend of mine. I learned something from these women. um Aramis Ayala, brilliant lady, brilliant.
Hmm.
She was the state's attorney in Florida when they pulled her over, and she asked the officers why they pulled her over, and they couldn't really state a reason. And then when she told them she was the state's attorney, I forget for which county, but there was a issue, and a lot of it was because she declared that she was not going to prosecute death penalty cases. She was not sending anybody to death, and that caused a problem. So I've learned a lot from these women, and we share a bond because the challenges that we have are not like other people. And every one of these women have a story, their lives of how they got to be where they are or where they were in some cases. And I've just truly been blessed to be in this position and to change lives, not only on a local in Jefferson County, Bessemer Cutoff,
Hmm.
but also in to be able to expound and be a part of work sessions and discussions national with national groups. So, yeah, I love
You
what I
have
do.
you have done a lot, and I'm sure it's more. I'm sure it's more. But let me ask you, when it comes to that second chance, do you have the numbers on how that benefits when the people come in
Well,
for the second chance?
we just had one.
Yes.
Yeah, and there were over 1,200 people who came this past time. I know it had to be. Well, I'll just say over 1,000 because I've not had a chance to really examine everything since Thursday.
Okay.
But one employer alone, which is U.S. Pipe, employed 22 people.
Oh, that's
They
great.
on the spot,
That's
on
great.
the spot.
Hmm.
And then you have other employers that hired. The last one we had was in June, and every time someone was hired, the bell was rang. SK Employment Services, they were dynamic. They had been a partner with me since I started, and they were very instrumental in helping people get jobs. So, and then we had resources there, voter registration, voter restoration, those who thought that they lost their voting rights for possession of marijuana charge, and lo and behold, you never lost your voting rights. And information about child care, loss and state, information, education, personal finance. So it is a very well-rounded event. And in fact, next year, I've spoken with US Pipe, and we're going to begin doing a career readiness and career development, teaching people etiquette of interviewing and
True,
what's
true.
proper
Yes,
to wear
yes.
and all of that. So, yeah.
Hmm. That's great. That is wonderful. Now, just going back just a little bit when you were talking about kids in school and being sleepy, not attentive.
Mhm.
And it just broke my heart to realize that these kids have so much pressure on them to
Yes.
be not only the big brother or sister, but they're really co-parenting.
Yes.
And then they're
Yes.
parenting their parent.
Absolutely.
So that
Absolutely.
is a lot of pressure,
That's a lot of pressure.
it's a lot of pressure on a kid. It's a lot of pressure.
And when a child is hungry,
Yes.
we expect for this child, that's hungry. We don't know that he or she has not had a meal since they had lunch at school the day
Hmm.
before. But we're expecting that child to perform and do well, and the child have all the abilities to be top student, but there are barriers, family barriers that keep
Yeah.
that child from excelling. And even with, we have a lot of homeless, when you got a child that, mom and dad, or mom and siblings, they live at aunt's house this week, grandmama house next week, friend's house next month. That's homelessness. That's
You know,
homelessness.
I did not realize that until someone told me that maybe a year or so ago. And
Hmm.
like anytime you don't have a steady place to go. And
Hmm.
really, I thought when you moved into like a hotel, like you have a house fire. I thought when
Yes.
you moved into a hotel that was okay. It's no, that's still determined to be homeless. I was like, whoa. I just, it's what we don't know. It's a
Oh,
lot of
it's
things
what we
out here.
don't know.
What we don't know, we just take for
Hmm.
granted they have a roof over their head and they're okay. But did not realize that was termed homelessness because
Oh,
it
yeah.
bothered me even the more.
Oh, yes. That's Oh, and I forgot my gun buyback program. I forgot about that too. We do a gun
Okay,
buyback
great.
program. And that, of course, a lot of people, oh, you're trying to take away people gun rights. No,
Mhm.
but around the summertime, we do it around the summertime, right before school is let out or so, because a lot of kids are staying with grandma, or a lot of kids are at home by themselves. So this is an opportunity to get rid of those weapons, because you can't restore a life.
No,
Once that life is gone, that's it. And then you're saying, "Oh, I wish I would have moved that gun. I wish I never had it in the house." Oh, so, but it's too late. So, we've done well with the gun buyback program. You turn in your gun, and we give you gift cards in exchange,
that's great.
and a gun lock. If you have other guns at home, we give you a gun lock, and we give you information about gun safety. So that's another initiative that I have that I'm very proud of.
As you should be.
Yes,
All of
ma'am.
your initiatives really are helping the public. They have an opportunity to turn things around, to find their way, so to speak. Um, that's just beautiful. I'm just really impressed. I just wanted to know those numbers on that second chance because
I,
I
as far as
often
the
wonder
hiring,
how successful that is.
it's very,
That's
if
true.
one person gets a job,
That's true.
that's successful.
And that's
But
true.
when one company hires 22 people
Mhm.
during one day, that changes lives. That increase the revenue in our community, that diverts shrinkage from people stealing and causing shrinkage and causing prices to go up, and we have to pay because
True.
of that. It means
Absolutely.
that somebody is safe from a person breaking into their business and taking, those things that they use to sell, or to transactions that are made to sell things, items, because they need money, and so they don't work, and so the only way they know is to take, because they don't have an education, they don't have a job, and a lot of them don't have family support because they have drug problems. So one person, a
Absolutely.
life
It
change.
it starts with one. It
It
starts with one.
starts with one. We want many in that net.
Oh
We
yeah,
and
we
when I
want
throw
more.
out that net, I want a lot, but if
Yeah.
I get one, I'm satisfied. But
That is so true.
I guess with my experience as a breast cancer survivor, it also put a different perspective on life.
And I could see where that would me being a nurse,
Hmm.
the slightest thing, a lot of people come in with just a little pain, a little this, a little that, and it turns into something bigger. And they're like, I had no idea. I had no idea. And I was like, but we know now. So we know what we're working with. The surgeon's going to come in and talk to you, and we'll go from there. And they were like, I had no idea. And the family's the same way. I had no idea. He was just laying around, but I know it's not like him to lay around, but. Then he didn't want to move at all. So we were like, "Oh, you're going to the hospital," and they
Yes,
they
yes,
they have to have sometimes a tumor removed or their blood sugar is off, but they weren't paying true attention to their bodies. So
right.
yes, that little thing can turn into a big thing. Um,
Well, mine was discovered during the time that I was running for district judge, and I had to resign my job at the DA's office to run. And when I resigned, so my job was to campaign. So I came home one day and I was looking at this infomercial, and they were talking about self-check. I mean, I'm fully clothed, just come back from a speaking engagement, and I, checked up under my arm, my right armpit, and I felt something like, I'll tell my doctor, didn't think anything of it because, of course, it wouldn't happen to me. But lo and behold, when I did go at the age of 42, it had grown to be 6.4 centimeters, and it was an aggressive cancer. And so as a result, I ended up, this is during me campaigning. I ended up having both girls removed. I had to lose the girls to save the woman. I
Amen.
went through chemo, which
Hmm.
of course I went through three different meds, and I lost hair, eyebrows, eyelashes, fingernails come off. I developed neuropathy in my fingers, just a number of side effects. And when my hair came out, I put on a wig that was basically the style that I wore my hair. When my eyebrows dropped off, I just start drawing my eyebrows. And when with my eyelashes, eyeliner. So there were a lot of people that had no idea, which was the plan, had no idea of what the journey that I was going through, the challenge. And my husband was in Iraq during the time, so it was my family and three of my closest friends at the DA's office who now work for me.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm going to name them because they are my sheroes. That would be Adrian Ward Belcher, Leanna Huddleston, and Shantae McLean Lee. And those ladies took me to the hospital the day of my surgery. My family couldn't go because my niece was having a baby at Brookwood, and I was at another hospital. I was at Trinity, and had to have both girls removed. So, and me and my niece were both scheduled to check in at the same time. So, while she was giving birth, bringing birth into the world, bringing a sweet, beautiful little girl, my Camille, into the world, my life was changed.
Yes,
And, as a woman, when you go in and you have that, we know our breasts and our behind, that does not define us, but that is a part of who we are.
it is.
And so to come out and you have nothing
Yes.
other than those, what do they call them? Jackson Pratt
Jackson Pratt
drain.
drains. Yes.
I call them cow udders.
They're close. They're close.
I call them cow
That's a
udders.
good description. A very good
Because,
description.
yeah, because at the base of it, you have this bulb that collects the fluid from your chest.
Yes.
And and the doctors, you have to squeeze that out and change bandage. My mother-in-law actually too, she came from Montgomery because my husband was in Iraq. She came and she was caring for me between her and when my niece left the hospital, they came to my house, her and the baby. So
Hmm.
this was the first place that my niece, my little niece Camille, this was home for her for a little
Okay.
while. And so, nobody knew that.
Hmm.
And when I lost the election, I was like, oh my God, I don't have a job. I'm going through cancer. My husband is in Iraq. And I remember a Bible verse, Miss Coleman, that when I was going to the churches, I would always recite, and that was, "Oh, taste and see that
Hmm.
God is good, and
Hmm.
blessed is the man that trusteth him."
Hmm.
So I was put to the test. And I trust him. And to this day, I trust him and love him even more. Because after that election, losing that election in February, there was an opportunity to apply to be the judge, to replace Judge Annetta Varon in
Hmm.
Bessemer Municipal Court because she was elected as circuit court judge. And there were like 12 people who put their names in to vie for that spot. And out of those 12 people, I was the one that was selected. And I got an opportunity I started doing programs actually that were not done before when I served as judge for the city of Bessemer. I had
Hmm.
their first amnesty program where people with outstanding warrants, some people had, every time you miss court, that's a $500 fine.
Yes.
And so that you've missed court 3 times, so that's $1,500. But you have a failure to stop at a stop sign ticket that's like 70 some dollars.
Hmm.
So we did an amnesty program, and we called it Operation Clean Slate. And so people had an opportunity to come in, get those warrants off, and pay whatever it was that they owed. And so that was, and then I had probation services. People got a chance to go to GED programs, fatherhood initiative program. So God gave me that opportunity. He gave me that platform to get to know the community, and to start making a difference. So by the time I ran for district attorney in 2016, I had already made a mark in the community from 2011 when I started serving as judge for the city of Bessemer.
Okay. Great. That is, it's like you always have been on your toes. You're I was getting ready to say, when do you rest? When do you rest? But when you
Oh
love
God.
what you do, when you love what
Yes.
you do and you're passionate about what you do, and you don't just want numbers, you want good
Mm-mm.
outcomes. But that
Yes.
that is the object, is to have the good outcomes.
When my husband tells me I'm married to my job and that my husband being my job is going to kill me. But he has suffered through. He's in law enforcement, so there were times when we didn't do anything but talk shop. He was
I
working
can imagine
narcotics
what
and
dinner was like. I can just
oh my
imagine.
God.
Yeah, I can
As a
imagine.
result, as a result, none of our children, our son and our daughter, they were like, I'm not doing that law thing. We're going medicine. So neither one of us,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Well, but hey,
they
that's a
went to
good
medical
thing.
field.
At least they know.
Yes,
They had a
yes,
bird's eye view of what was
they
going
did.
on, but
They did.
yeah, but hey, at least they had the opportunity, they had the choices, they saw what was
Yes.
before them, and they were like, "Oh, no, I'm gonna do something a little different. And that's okay. As long as it's
Oh, yeah.
positive and you like what you do, that is what needs to be.
Oh, yeah. I was 5 months pregnant when I graduated from Miles Law School. I graduated cum laude,
Oh
and I
wow.
was 5 months pregnant then.
Hmm.
So yeah, he's been a part of my whole legal journey because when he was but when I became a lawyer, my son was already here.
That
So
is
he's seen
great.
it all.
Now, how did your battle with cancer, or do you think your battle with cancer influenced your work ethic?
I think the work ethic was already there. In
I
fact, I
believe
know
so
it
too,
was.
just by listening to you. But
Yeah,
I
the
was
work
wondering, did
ethic
you
was
put in
there.
an extra little kick? Because sometimes we are like, okay, I got this to do, I got work to do.
It just gave me really it just gave me a stronger relationship with God. It taught me how real He is, and that if you trust Him, that it is conditional. You can't treat people and live your life recklessly and expect God to bless your mess. But
True.
I just it just gave me a closer relationship with him. I'm grounded in who I am. I know who I am. I know whose I am. And that just gave me a better perspective on life, I think. But in terms of my work ethic, my mom taught me that a long time ago.
Yes, I can see that. Because you kind of hit the ground running. You kind of hit the ground running and you haven't slowed up. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And this is no take on the era of politics or the venue of whatever. But once you have a passion for what you do and
Mhm.
whatever it is, you're usually going to give it your best. I have noticed that in people. You take pride in what you do, and along with that comes your name, and you don't
Yes.
want to mess up your name.
Don't want to do that.
You don't want to do it. You
No.
want people, and everybody, you're not going to please everybody. Let's not
No.
go there. But at least you'll know in your heart, like you say, when you didn't, but I will say this. I know I say this a lot of time. When I come home and I know I've done the best that I can do,
Mhm.
then that's
Mhm.
all I can do. And that all you
Yes.
can do is start fresh the next day
That's
because
it.
you have given it. And I always treat my patients as I would want to be treated. Now you
I
got
truly
some
believe that.
knuckleheads coming in now. They're coming
Oh yeah.
in, but
Oh yeah.
well, once they see who you are and that you have
Hmm.
their
Hmm.
best interests at heart, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna go along with the game plan. And that's
Yes.
all you can ask from people.
Oh
Now,
yes.
DA Washington.
A kind answer turns away wrath.
And it does. It really, really does. Because they don't know how to respond. And because you can tell that by the look on their face when you come back with, all right, hon. And hon, hon,
Yeah.
no, they wanted
Yeah.
to say something crazy to you.
Hmm.
But people are people. As a
Yes.
friend of mine would say, we are more alike than we are different. But when the
Absolutely.
core of you is to do the best that you can do by people, then that's all you can do. You might not get all the results or that result that you want, but it's not because of your lack of trying. And that's what I
Right.
tell people. It wasn't because I didn't try, I gave it my all.
Yes.
Now, you have given us so much information about you, and you have done such good work in
Thank
the
you.
period of
Thank you.
time that
Thank
you
you.
have been there. It is just so amazing. I am so much more honored to know you. Um,
Now
Who
you're an amazing lady yourself, Miss Coleman. So I'm honored to know and to be around amazing people. God has truly, put people like yourself. That you truly care about people in your profession, and a lot of times your presence speak more than your words. So thank you for being who you are.
and that is what I try to do. I try to come in as authentic as of me as I can, no matter
Yes.
where, no matter what. Because it's not about me, and
Mhm.
I don't take it that it's about me. It is about the people. And
Yes.
that's what I want. You can't win them all, but you can win
That's
some,
true.
you know.
That's true.
So, in closing,
Yes,
who do you say DA Lynniece O. Washington is?
ma'am. I am a person that love God and I love people. I stand on principles of doing right, of treating people right, and always to try to make a positive difference. My goal is when I leave this world is to leave a legacy, a rich legacy of being able to help people. Those things that I've done, so that my living is not in vain. So,
Amen. Amen.
um, and it's funny because people they think that I am working so hard because I have my goals set for something else. This is all I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I have no higher goal than DA. I don't want to run for attorney general. I don't want to run for a Senate seat or a representative, House of Representative. This is what I love, and this is who I am, and this is where I'm home.
And that is beautiful in and of itself. And there are people who are climbers, that they check off where they're going to go to next, and that's fine too,
That's
but
fine.
once you know who you are and what you really want to do, be good in that. And if the opportunity presents itself, and it's your time, then do that,
Yes,
but make sure you're making, that you're leaving that footprint
yes.
so that people can see. Well, I tell you, it has been absolutely wonderful having you on Gentry's Journey. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank you
so
for
much.
having me. I've
I am,
truly enjoyed this.
I have as well. I'm like, did I really know her? Because she telling me things I did not know. But anyway, that's what it's all about. That's what the interview is all about. But
Yes.
it has been a beautiful thing. And I just want you to know that I appreciate you. I appreciate your hard work. I see you give of yourself with the Brenda Brown Bosom Buddies,
Yes.
with everything that you do here in the county. You give your all, and that you're always available if people, when people ask, you're there.
I'm
So
there. I tried to be. Yes,
yes,
definitely.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, you have a wonderful night,
You
and
too.
thank you. I will, and we will talk soon.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for your audience, whoever listens to this podcast. Hopefully, it will give you a broader and more defined view of who I am. And thank you again for the opportunity to be on Gentry's Journey, Miss Coleman.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful evening.